All right, good morning. We'll go ahead and get started. Open it up to your questions.
So, to reflect on Kyle, just some thoughts that you have about him.
Yeah, he's a class act. I mean, it's unusual to find a player that can stay at one organization through his entire career, and I think it really fits Kyle. As I've gotten to know him, I first became introduced to him at the Pro Bowl, I believe in 2014, and have had a front row seat the last couple of years to watch him, watch his habits, what he's been able to do inside the building, what he's been able to do outside the building. He's a guy that personifies what we want to be all about as Buffalo Bills, and he really bleeds not only red but red, white, and blue.
And Sean, how much has he meant to you specifically as still fairly new to the head coaching ranks of the NFL? You're maybe leaning on him in some ways. It's one thing to lead and guide teammates, but has he meant that to you too as a coach?
Yeah, you've heard me talk before, Vic, about player-driven leadership, and that is important. That's highly important that players can connect my message to the locker room, and he's done a great job of that. We need more Kyle Williamses, although they're hard to find. They only come around probably once in a lifetime, but he's been a special player. He's been a special person. I know the way he's served this community for a number of years, he and his family both, and it's been fun to watch. And he gave me a little bit of a Christmas present. I told him it was the worst Christmas present a man could get on Monday, and that's when he first shared it with me. So we shared some moments, and I'm just extremely proud of him, and can't wait to watch him this weekend.
Sean, was there anything in your conversations with him over the past year when you made the decision to return for this season that you had any inkling that this was maybe the direction he was going?
I told him, I shared with Kyle on Monday in our conversation, I told him I watch, and I tried to look for signs as to which direction he was going to go, and I'll lead off by saying I respect Kyle more for doing what he's doing because of the reason that he's doing it, and that's his family. And he knows that we're heading in the right direction, and Kyle can still play, and that's a hard decision to make. But putting his family first, really to me is befitting of a man like Kyle, and you see players hang on and continue to get their identity from this game, and he's more than that. He's bigger than that.
You said it was unique to play your entire career in one city, which is true, obviously. What about how unique it is to kind of work with other guys who eventually you're going to kind of take your spot? A lot of guys don't do that. They're a little standoffish and trying to pass that torch a little bit.
Yeah, right. That's one of the signs that I've seen from Kyle and Jill this year is our players have a unique opportunity in Western New York and Buffalo in particular. It's unlike any NFL city I've been to. They gather, right, because of the uniqueness and the intimacy of our community. And so Kyle has had multiple players, young players in particular, over to his house with their significant others to shepherd them, share life, NFL experiences, and then also, I think, begin to pass the torch. And so, from a servant leader standpoint, I think that's been interesting to watch.
How big of aside from, I guess, both sides, how big of a hole does now do you have to fill both on the field and in that locker room without Kyle?
Yeah, we'll miss Kyle. You can't replace a guy like Kyle. They come around once in a career. Just for all the reasons that you and I both know, what we'll take from Kyle is all the great things, and we'll embed them in what we do, and it's been a great opportunity for our young players to watch, and we meet every Friday, first and second year players in a leadership type development meeting, and I've encouraged our young players to watch our older players, because before you know it, they'll be gone. And what greater lesson from a leadership standpoint to learn when it's led by example, and Kyle's done that for a number of years here.
And how much has he shown you he can still play? I mean, he's
Yeah, he can still play, and that's why, as I was asked earlier, I think that makes it even that much harder of a decision. I would imagine for Kyle, and but I respect him even more because of the fact that he can still play, and he's decided to spend more time with his family.
What do you expect it to be like on Sunday when he takes the field?
Oh man, emotional. I think it'd be great for the fans. You know, when I think back about the signs that I've seen this year, and then I watched Kyle. We have the families come in when we play away for the Saturday practice, and so I've been able to watch Kyle with his kids, watch him run around, to watch Jill film, to hold her phone up and film Kyle. It was one of the signs I saw the other day, and I'm going, could this be it? And they're trying to capture those special moments. So it'll be a 4-hour or longer day filled of just special moments, and moments that I'll personally never forget. But moments that I think it'll be fun to be a part of. It'll be kind of landmark opportunity for all of us to be a part of and just take part in, as Kyle has his day.
Should any of those moments be similar to what we saw in Miami last year?
Could be. This is the great part about our game. This is a great part about our team. These guys, they're vulnerable. They put their heart out there, and when you've got a guy like Kyle that plays that way, and a family that supports this organization, and like I mentioned before, just really embodies what Buffalo is all about. It could be special. It could be special Sunday, and I want it for the fans. I want the fans to be able to end it at home. I think is fitting for Kyle as well, as opposed to ending it on the road somewhere. I know there's a number of teams obviously that go on the road the last week of the season, and to be able to retire and play his last game in front of the home fans, I think will be special.
Back in 2016, just right after you were hired, Kyle was briefly considering retirement, and he credited you for kind of changing his mind and coaching him back in. What did you say, and how important was that?
It was really, you guys know Kyle, and hopefully you've gotten to know me by now. It was really just what I believe in type conversation of 20 minutes. He was at his hunting cabin. I had called him, and then he didn't call me back, and so it kind of, irked me a little bit. No, he was he didn't have good reception, so a day or two later he got back to me and apologized for the delay, but he doesn't get good reception. Then we had a 15, 20-minute conversation, and I just really laid out to Kyle what my vision is for this football team, this organization, and I think we saw eye to eye on that, and so that's what also makes it hard, right? Because he's a guy that I feel equally yoked with in terms of when you try and establish a winning culture, when you're around and trying to establish an environment of high achievers, that the habits that come with that, you don't see those every day, and he's a guy that has that.
And when you reflect back to it's that iconic picture of you guys, your team making the playoffs, and Kyle and Eric shirtless, how nice was it for at least, both, but now Kyle, to make the playoffs,
Right. I reflect back on that moment in the locker room at Miami a year ago, and you always go back and do a self-assessment, and I made it at that moment a moment about as I addressed our team. The first thing I said was how proud and thankful I am for the Williams family, and that they can experience this. And you go back through it and say, hey, was that the right thing to say? Because there's a ton of other people involved in that, but you go back and you say, hey, that was the right thing to say because of moments like this weekend. And when you watch him, probably the biggest thing that I'll remember about Kyle is you go into the training room. I'm in there, 7 o'clock at night, coming downstairs. There's not many players left. He's one of the guys. He's one of the guys that's always in there. He's either in the cold tub, in the hot tub, getting treatment, 7 o'clock at night when he could be home with his family. And he's a true pro and a true Buffalo Bill.
Is there any campaigning on your part on Monday during that conversation that maybe
There was some, you know, but, you know, I respect, like I said, his decision so much that if I tried to change his decision, it would be changing. I wouldn't feel good about it as a human being, and you know, I know what he's established. I know what he's ready to go do in a lot of ways, and his house is built and ready to go for him down in Louisiana as well. And but I imagine, and I would hope that he would stay involved. We discussed some of that a little bit. Nothing's been. It's too early for anything to be formalized at this point, but you know, I'd love to have him around as we continue to grow and move forward.
Who has to step into this leadership void now with him retiring?
You know, I don't know if anybody steps into his shoes exactly, but you know, certainly Lorenzo, and then that's why, as I mentioned, the meeting that we have with some of these younger first and second year players, it's developing leaders, because naturally Kyle, Lorenzo, I mean, all these guys are not going to be around forever. I've been through this before, and it's our job to bring in, as we acquire players, the right types of players that have that DNA, and then that we're able to develop it as with our resources and our human capital that we have here, that we invest in those players so that it's always churning in terms of who can take over those leadership positions. And we need more of those players. You've seen our roster. We've got a young football team, and quite honestly, a couple of the leaders, most of the leadership has been on the defense. We need more of that on the other sides of the ball.
The same way we talk about Josh learning from Derek and Matt, have you seen guys like Tremaine and Matt Milano kind of watching and observing and becoming more of a leader, finding their voice, seeing from what Kyle has done?
I have. I have, Sal. You know, the biggest challenge therein lies the youth of, hey, coach, I'm trying to do my job, and then I got to go over here and lead, and it's hard to do both. So the older those players get, the more they'll be able to move into, as they mature and their job starts to slow down for them, they'll be able to move into those roles because they've experienced things, and they'll be able to say, hey, I've been through this before. Here's how we need to handle this as a group of players.
Sean, so much was made when Harrison Phillips was drafted about comparisons to Kyle Williams. Now that you've had a year with him, from a production standpoint, is he somebody you could see helping to fill the void left on the field production-wise?
You know, we'll see. We'll see. From a habit standpoint, I would say yes. You know, just watching Harrison and his habits and the way he approaches his job, the way he's a connector of people, much like Kyle is. I would say he's off to a start that he has a chance. Okay. All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.